What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. We are your hosts, Chase and Myles, and we are once again at the Lucky Duck, enjoying some festive cocktails over good conversation.
Finally,
Some
good conversation.
A podcast that does that. Cheers.
Cheers. What is this?
This is a whiskey cherry smash.
Nice.
Our good friend Hannah dropped off some Yellowstone whiskey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
Bourbon whiskey. And so some cherries, some mint, some simple syrup, lemon. So good.
Yeah, totally. That's how they say it. I usually don't like smashes because they're really sweet.
Yes.
But this one is not sweet at all. It's a little tart, like a cherry tart.
Yep.
And yeah, super good.
Yeah, if you want to get the sugar down, you could skip the simple syrup, I suppose, and do maybe another liqueur if you wanted to get it proofed up a little bit higher.
Even more so this has simple syrup in it.
It does,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like the sweetness is pretty perfect. If you want any less than that, then it may be a little too plain.
Yeah. I think if we were dealing with vodka and not whiskey, I feel like whiskey has a little bit more of that flavor profile to it.
Right.
And the sugar really does a good job of cutting into some of the harsher notes of whiskey. So it doesn't feel like I'm drinking like a whiskey martini, really. It's
that's
well balanced.
That's the thing. When you drink something with rum, like a rum and Coke, rum is really, even just rum by itself is super easy to drink because it's really sweet. And it's not very harsh. And whiskey is kind of the opposite, where it has a really good flavor and smell to it, but it can be often difficult to drink.
Yeah.
Because it burns in your mouth and in your throat and has a really strong alcohol taste. But this makes it so that you don't have that. You just have that kind of taste of the whiskey. So it's really good.
I could drink these all day, honestly. They're so they're refreshing. And you know what I like to do is drink half of it and then top it off with some like Topo Chico,
Oh,
yeah.
Topo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it a sparkling drink. But and then it's like half of the alcohol in a full drink. You get another full drink with half the amount of alcohol in it. And it's a little more refreshing because it has that like sparkling water aspect.
So you didn't just say that for the ad. You actually did this?
I actually like doing this, with other cocktails, not just this drink, but margaritas. There's something about like a sparkling margarita that's like half the amount or half potent that really, I don't know, gives it like a refreshing kick to it. It's like ranch waters, those Topo Chico ranch waters. It's kind of like that, where it's like very hint of like tequila flavor. The lime that's like makes it a little more interesting flavor wise, and then the sparkling water to really get that refreshing kick.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think maybe I'll have to try it. You said there's 2 ounces in here?
Yeah, 2 ounces of bourbon. So it's a heavy bourbon drink that you can definitely tell when you drink it.
Yeah, I feel like you almost can't though. It definitely tastes a lot like bourbon, but yeah, I mean, I could drink like 4 of these and not feel like I had 8 ounces of bourbon.
Yeah, we made these for Thanksgiving. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. It is the day after Thanksgiving when we're taping this, but
Black Friday.
Yeah, it's Black Friday now.
Also known as.
And we're decked out in Seminoles, Florida State gear because the Seminoles versus the Florida Gators happened today.
They're playing at 5:30.
Boom. So we are excited. It's going to be a good day for football. It's going to be a good weekend for football. We got Michigan and Ohio State on Saturday. That should be an interesting matchup. There's a lot on the line. I think they're like 2 and 3 ranked respectively.
That's right.
A lot on the line.
I went and got a haircut at Sports Clips today.
Yeah.
Which is known as the place that men go to watch sports and get their haircut.
Mm-hmm.
and then you can go in the back and get a massage or something like that.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway,
that sounds like above board. Totally.
So I went there, and of course I saw that being advertised on TV as the game of the weekend.
Game of the weekend. Yes.
Yeah. Should be good. So does this mean that? So which one was number 2?
I think Michigan? It's Ohio. No, I think it's Michigan. I don't know.
Because
I tapped out of the top 4.
Yeah. You what?
I tapped out.
You tapped out?
I'm more of a top 20 guy now.
Does that have something to do with Florida State being?
It could be
in the higher top 20.
It just might be that.
The question is, do we have a chance of getting into the playoffs?
The answer is absolutely. If all of the teams ahead of us,
if all of them lose,
all die tomorrow in a terrible, unfortunate crash.
Yeah. So Ohio State's number 2, Michigan's number 3.
Oh wow! I just threw some disrespect over.
Yeah. So, what happens? I know. I mean,
sorry.
It happens. What happens if Michigan loses?
Well, I think it's fair to say that if any of the if either team lose, that they're no longer in the college football playoff talk, and unless something completely different happens in the conference championships,
For instance, okay, think about this. Whoever is number 4, I don't know who it is right now, is playing, let's say they're playing an unranked opponent and they lose. Michigan's probably not going below them, right? So their number 4 is out. Let's say number 5 also loses to someone who's maybe ranked but not ranked lower than them. Maybe Michigan stays in.
There's a lot that could happen for sure.
If Ohio State loses, we know that they'll stay in the top 4 because it's rigged.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm sorry, the Ohio State. Sorry, I forgot the.
Our good friend Michael Butler goes to Ohio State. Well, he doesn't go there. He works there, and he was telling me like this week for the rivalry game, as it is, they like a lot of the signs that they take tape and cover all the letter M's on the campus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking dumb.
That's what he was telling me. So I was like, okay. I mean, that's I mean, I don't know. Each school has their own little fun thing. I guess they get a kick out of that.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's what makes the rivalry week so special, is all these little petty jabs each team gives each other.
Yeah, honestly, I hope they both lose. Only because I don't like either school.
I have a question, because obviously that can't happen in NCAA. There's no ties, but in the NFL there are ties.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird that I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, if a game goes into overtime, I believe it's like there's 15 minutes on the clock, and if either team can't score within that allotted time frame, it goes to a tie.
This is American football, right?
Yeah, the NFL.
NFL? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you said NFL. Mm-hmm. Because also in soccer they do that too, right?
I think they do penalty kicks. So they do get extra time, but at some point when that expires, they go to penalty kicks. I think that's my understanding of that.
Okay, because I thought I saw today that the U.S. and England tied.
Really?
That's what I thought I saw. It was 0-0.
Wow. Nobody scored.
Let's look this up, and I think we play Iran next.
What is the like protocol for the Super Bowl though for NFL? Like what?
Can you tie the Super Bowl?
I bet you can't. I think that's maybe just a regular season thing. And even in the playoffs, what happens during playoffs,
Right. I guess it's
got to be just regular season game stuff.
True. Oh, yeah. So it says, unlike regular season games, postseason games cannot end in a tie. So the overtime rules change slightly for the playoffs. If the score is still tied at the end of the overtime period, or if the second team's initial possession was not has not ended, the team will play another overtime period.
So it just keeps going indefinitely. Man, I wonder what the longest non-season like game. Well, and you think about like college too has the same rule. Basically, just go indefinitely.
So the NFL's longest ever game was the Dolphins versus Chiefs in 1971. So on that occasion, the two sides had to go to double overtime, and they recorded the longest game, which was 82 minutes long. So,
wow,
double overtime. So it'd just be double overtime, or like each? Would that mean 4 overtimes? Like they said, each side.
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say it would be like 4 overtimes. Double overtime doesn't seem like a record-breaking type of
Yeah,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was double overtime, but is it when you go into overtime, is it just first to score?
So how it works in the NFL is when it first goes into overtime, they do a coin flip, and whoever wins the coin flip will go first, basically. And if you go first and you score, you win, meaning the other team doesn't get a chance to score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Field goal doesn't count. So first team, basically.
So if you get a field goal, the other team still gets to
go. Yeah, and if they don't at least score a field goal, they end up losing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe because even if you went into double overtime, you can have different lengths of double overtime. For instance, if they did go into double OT, if the first team didn't score and then the second team took long enough to score again or to score, then that could have just been enough time to be the longest game. The second longest game could have been like 81 minutes,
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Further investigation is warranted on the matter.
Yeah, I think that we're going to have to do a podcast just on overtime rules of the NFL.
We're going to do a 30 for 30 just on that one game.
On that one game.
Yeah, just on the overtime of that one game, because there's got to be enough content there. Yeah, no, it's interesting. We didn't watch any football yesterday. I feel like that's a thing that people used to do, but they don't anymore. It's like Thanksgiving was once synonymous, I think, with football. It sort of still kind of is, but not like it used to be.
Who was playing yesterday? Was at NFL? I mean, I think there were a couple of college games, but
I don't know if there was any college games, but there's usually a few NFL games.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't know. For some reason, I always think it's like the Detroit Lions playing somebody. I don't know.
Because people there don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
No, I just always see that there's a Detroit game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I've done a couple Thanksgivings. No, I'm not a pro, but
You've done a couple?
I've done a few.
What do you mean you've done a few?
I've been a part of a few Thanksgivings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could say if you weren't part of any Thanksgivings that you might be not very loved.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. Well, one Thanksgiving I had to eat at Golden Corral.
Yeah, that was in college.
Yeah, I had to stay in the college town because of a job thing. Yeah, they wouldn't let me go
because
home.
of a job thing.
Yeah, just didn't want to be around any people, which is why I went to a Golden Corral by myself.
Yeah, were there any people there?
Yeah, there was plenty of people there.
Was it people celebrating Thanksgiving, or was it everyone else who was alone?
I mean, I think. I mean, it's hard to tell. How does one pick up on the fact that
you didn't ask?
You know what? I did forget to go around to do the whole table rounds of asking.
Like, what are you guys thankful for?
Yeah, what are you thankful for, fatty?
That's so mean.
No. I was probably upset because nobody invited me to their local Tallahassee Thanksgiving. You know. Did
you have friends
that stayed? No, I was like the only one
that stayed.
Yeah,
friends that stayed in my life. No,
stayed. What does that mean? No, I went to Golden Corral. I had a good dinner, and then I went to the movies. I saw Arthur Christmas all by myself. Solid movie. It's now on HBO Max if you guys are interested in watching it.
What is Arthur Christmas?
It's an animated feature film about
the Arthur the Aardvark.
What? No. It's about a family of Clauses, like Santa Claus. There's like the head Claus, the older brother, and then Arthur is the younger brother, and they kind of like help logistically carry out the night of Christmas, because it's like Santa can't just do that all by himself. He's got a whole crew and family. It was interesting because you didn't really think about that aspect. Like, did Santa Claus have kids? Like Mr. Santa and Mrs. Santa Claus, they got to be busy. They got to be doing their thing. You telling me that Mrs. Claus never gave birth to any kids?
Well, he is magic, so that could be the case.
Would just like being magic suddenly make you sterile? I don't understand.
No, it could have just been like he didn't want kids, so he made it magically that he didn't have any.
Yeah.
Once you put magic into the equation, everything goes out the door. It's like you can have any scenario.
That's true. That's a good point. It's hard to wrangle. You need like parameters.
Yeah.
So let's establish some.
Okay.
They definitely can have kids. Parameter number 1. So
can or can't?
Can.
Can or can't?
Can.
Okay.
Second, yeah, they have kids. It's a how do you think Santa has been able to basically exist for a millennia sending toys to kids? Because it's just been a lineage of Santas taking the reins once the old man has to retire and can't do his thing on Christmas Eve. You get to that age. I want to call it 60, 62, where your bones just are a little more brittle. Maybe you had that one, winter of 1965 where you kind of slipped on the chimney rim. You messed up your back, and for like 5 years after that, it's gotten worse progressively. Now you're taking pain pills, and suddenly Santa Claus has a benzo problem, and he can't keep up with the orders every year, and his family's concerned. They're hearing this. They're seeing it firsthand. Maybe one of them goes on, like a ride along, and he's like, man, this is not the Santa I knew 5 years ago.
He's like shoveling pills down his mouth.
He's got racial slurs now because he's just angry. He's just like throwing out all the things, all the red flags.
Stops delivering presents to all the Chinese children or something.
Things start to slip. And his family starts to notice, and they have the conversation. And that conversation has happened, for generations. Dad, I think it's time you throw in the hat. Let me take the reins from here. Enjoy the rest of your life in your retirement years.
And he doesn't do it, so then the kids end up having to push him out the sleigh at some point.
Yeah.
He slipped.
He doesn't take their advice.
Right.
He keeps going. It's a disaster. They're all embarrassed. He
starts molesting children and stuff.
That probably happens
because of the alcohol.
And then they have to take care of him. They got to take him out back. Have another conversation with them, and suddenly Santa doesn't come back, and now the oldest is wearing the big red hat.
Is this the same thing that happened to Rudolph?
It could be.
When they took him out back.
It's like, listen, it's a tough business. You're telling me that he's gonna go 50? No, he's gonna go like 40 years of service and not get a little disgruntled.
How does he make money? What's the deal with that?
The deal is, that's a good question. I don't think we've established that yet.
Should I Google it? Or is it? We're deciding, right?
Yeah, Google it. Maybe somebody has a good idea what that might be. Is it love? Can you monetize love?
As a business owner, Santa doesn't get paid a set salary, but there are ways to offset his costs. Tourism is the biggest source of income for Santa. Oh shit,
dude! I never thought of it that way.
Right? So he's just getting his name. He's basically an influencer at this point. You know what I mean?
He's pushing the Christmas propaganda.
Yeah.
Is it the Christians that are propping this guy up?
I don't know if it's just well, I guess it could just be Christians. I mean, I know they have this tradition in other parts of the world, but I guess it's all going to be places where Christianity exists.
So who's at the top of this? Who's pulling the strings?
The Pope.
the Pope.
Yeah. And
And that's why this whole holiday has a lot to do with kids.
What's the Russian one? The guy head of the Russian church.
There's a Russian church?
Yeah, isn't it the Orthodox Catholic Church?
Oh, it could be. It could be.
I think that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe not. Could be wrong. Sorry. No offense to anyone.
No offense taken. The Russians, the dirty, dirty Russians.
So you're telling me that Russia is actually the one funneling all this money into the whole conspiracy of Santa existing, delivering presents to children? Is it just propaganda? Are they toys that are pro-Russian?
Listen, it's the long game. I think if you can control the guy that has control of 1 year, and also the hearts and minds of the Western civilization, as soon as you get your greedy hands on that guy and you've got a hold on him financially, you could manipulate the Western. You could basically orchestrate the collapse of Western civilization just by controlling 1 day of the year, and that day is Christmas.
Holy shit! I just figured out who Santa is.
Is it Putin?
It's Trump.
Trump.
That's who you just described. You said if Russia can control one person financially with that much control over 1 day of the year.
That's true.
His 1 day of the year is obviously 4th of July.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Could be.
That's his secret one. That's his Trump.
That's his sauce.
But when he's Santa, he does kind of look like him. The hair is a different color, but
yeah, the hair is a
disguise.
It's a disguise.
It's not real, you know.
Yeah. Instead of rosy pink cheeks, it's orange spray tan.
Yeah.
You know, instead of bushily white beard and hair, it's this weird orange blonde toupee thing that he wears.
But have you seen him when he goes golfing? Dude,
I've seen photos.
Pale white, huge stomach.
Dude.
He looks exactly like Santa.
He's getting a little lazy. You know, with the whole get up, the whole disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's putting on less makeup every day. He's getting a little sloppy. The lid on this might just come flying off.
He's pretty sloppy.
Yeah, he's
everything he does is pretty sloppy.
Yeah. When you eat Diet Cokes and Big Macs all day.
Remember when he bought the was it Alabama or it was Clemson, right?
Yeah, it was Clemson. It's hilarious to think that they actually thought that was what they wanted. Like
McDonald's.
Yeah. Like, you like McDonald's? Everybody likes McDonald's.
Love McDonald's.
I
mean, yeah. Maybe all of those guys actually did like McDonald's.
Who doesn't like McDonald's, Miles? We had our whole discussion about the McRib.
I know.
Last time.
I know.
If you guys didn't catch the McRib gate, we went into it last episode.
We did basically a 2-week investigation on why the McRib is what it is and what kind of material it's made from.
Yep.
And it goes pretty deep. You guys should look into it.
Yeah, it's a 4-part series. It's called McRib ?
Yeah.
McRight.
Big Pharma. That's the whole title.
Yeah. McRib, McRight, Big Pharma. That's the name of it.
That
you
should
can
give
catch
you
it
some,
now on YouTube.
This should give you some clues as to what it's about.
Yeah.
Right?
Miles came up with the title. It was a big debate. We ultimately went with his choice. There were some harsh words thrown around, and I just decided to settle on it. It's fine. It's fine. We can use the name.
Look, we get into why Colorado doesn't allow multiple liquor licenses.
Yeah.
We go into why you're not allowed to buy alcohol at the grocery store. And then we go into why the McRib is sold at McDonald's.
Yeah, I totally forgot we talked about that. Actually, I found out I may have been mistaken. I think the wine thing in grocery stores and convenience stores actually passed.
No.
I think so.
Really?
I think so, yeah. We'll have to look it up. Also, this cherry that I have as a garnish in this drink looks pretty good. I might take a bite out of it.
I ate one yesterday. I think I forgot to eat my second one.
It's called.
Yeah, it is cold. It's good though. Where'd you get those?
King Supers.
Are those called what are those called? Those kind of cherries?
Yeah, there's a name for it. I don't remember.
Cherries.
The cherries are expensive though.
Dude, they're so expensive.
For a bag, I think I got a 2-pound bag, and it was $7, something like that.
Wow, it did pass. Really? I thought I could have sworn it didn't.
I could have sworn it didn't either.
You know what? All the Lauren Boebert votes they were still counting, but like she ended up winning. You know, it was probably those people.
It's probably It's probably the guys that wanted they wanted their wine.
We just really like wine.
We need that wine.
Hate going to the wine store.
Why don't you whine about it later?
It starts in March.
What? Starts in March? Well, time to stockpile on wine, folks. Actually, I guess not.
And alcohol delivery services. I'm pretty sure that
we were fed a bunch of propaganda.
Yeah, the website I was looking at, it was like it didn't pass. Maybe I voted the opposite way and I just misunderstood the poll. Oh shit! Maybe everyone did.
Maybe that was like purposely worded.
Reverse worded it.
Yeah, like a little reverse psychology.
Yeah, they were like, "Do you want wine to be sold in wine stores?" And then in little letters, it was like, "Vote yes for no."
Yeah,
no for yes. You know,
it was like if opposite day was Wednesday, and it is Wednesday.
I was like, I think when I was in Florida, one of the times I voted there, I think it was on. I want to say it was something controversial, like abortion or something.
Yeah.
And the way the question was worded was so confusing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know which way was which, like what they wanted.
Maybe there's those things on the ballot that because it has to be approved to be on the ballot, right? Not approved, but enough.
I don't know what
enough signatory
from who.
I think it's like the public, and then you have like senators and legislators that like will sponsor it or something. I don't know. I'm dumb. I'm like, I feel like I'm just like every other American who has no idea how all this works.
Me too. Well, all the states are different, I think.
So stay tuned for our next 4-part series on how does shit get on the ballot. Every Tuesdays on Fox Max.
It's not Fox Max. What was it called?
Newsmax.
No, I meant the Fox's new.
Oh, they have a thing.
Fox Nation.
Fox Nation.
That's the racist one. What's their streaming service?
I think it's Fox Nation.
Oh, sorry.
I think CNN has like CNN Plus. Then there's like, I don't know. I don't watch the news.
The news.
I don't watch the news.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I thought Fox Nation was just all the people talking about politics.
It could be. I don't think so though, because I've seen advertisements for other like docu-series and stuff that they put on there, and some of it's not like political.
Yeah, remember Cops?
Yeah, is it on there now?
Isn't that what? Okay, I thought
Cops was on like True TV. I thought, or Live PD. That was another one that was on like one of those channels. I don't think it was Fox though.
Yeah, so Cops is now on Fox Nation. So that's like their kind of
their
extra streaming service.
Oh, who is like, man, I miss Cops, dog. I'm about to pay. Was it like $4.99 probably?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Get it?
I guess so. You can get 1 year free subscription.
That's how they get you.
If
they
you're
give
an
you that
active
1
police
year,
officer.
And suddenly you're like, when does fucking?
So you read this, you're like 1 year as a cop, so you become a police officer just so you can get 1 year free.
Yeah.
Save $9.99.
Yeah.
And what? It's got to be it. Oh, look at this. $1.50 Black Friday sale. $1.50 a month for a year.
I think Frontier Airlines is doing like a Black Friday deal. Where have you seen they have a fly for
Unlimited pass?
Unlimited pass, yeah.
Yeah, except you have to pay for tax
and fees.
Yeah, taxes and fees.
Yeah.
So the thing is, whenever you see their fares, $60.
Yeah.
$20 of it is the fare,
yes.
and then $40 of it is taxes and fees. So it's like how I think they were doing it like if you buy it now when they first announced it, I don't know for how long, you got it for like half off or something. I think it ended up being like $500 or $600.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like 750 or something like that.
Okay. So I'm thinking like how are you getting $750 worth of Frontier fare?
You have to fly so much.
So much.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
Yeah. And cuz like I guess I suppose it's also if you go to places where they have Frontier flights, but they're like typically expensive.
Yeah.
Like here from Denver to Columbus or something, like not a big hub. Like Denver to Atlanta all day is like super cheap or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. The same with Spirit.
Yeah. You go on one of those $300 Frontier flights and you get most of that comped. You already paid for a good chunk of it,
I figured out why. I didn't figure it out. I read why sometimes it's cheaper to purchase a flight from one city having a layover. Like, for instance, if you want to go to Las Vegas, from here to Las Vegas, it's potentially cheaper for you to buy a flight to LA that has a layover through Las Vegas.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because they're competing against the other airlines that might have the same flight.
Gotcha.
So like from here to Las Vegas, it may be super cheap. That market's flooded, so the flights are really cheap. But from here to LA, maybe maybe it's expensive to go to Las Vegas, but it may be cheaper to go to LA for some reason.
Yeah.
And so they have to, in order to compete, they lower the price. But they have that whole thing in there where if you actually stopped at Las Vegas and didn't go on to LA, then they can actually sue you, apparently. What? Yeah. I don't know. Someone on the internet said this. I don't know if it's true. I know
if they said it on the internet.
I know what they can do is they can take away any status you have. They can take away all your points, and they can.
I guess they have control over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you won't get points to the flight, things like that. But apparently they can sue you too because you broke the agreement.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that whole thing is so confusing to me sometimes. How airline how they price their flights, and
they go up and down all the time. This is the most annoying things. When you book a hotel or something, hotels generally never get cheaper. They always just get more expensive. It's always really cheap if you book it in advance.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much book it. I mean, most hotels at this point are refundable, but some aren't.
Yeah.
But you can feel pretty good booking a hotel 6 months out and knowing that it's not going to be cheaper unless a festival gets canceled or something, right?
Yeah.
But with airlines, you have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that if you book it within a month, it's probably not going to be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But any more than that, I booked a flight once that went down like $200.
Yeah. What are some other things that fluctuate like that?
The price of eggs.
Oh, Ticketmaster?
I don't know. Do they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So the price of tickets go up and down just
based on availability. Like they have surge pricing now.
Yeah, okay. Oh, surge pricing.
Yeah.
What? What does that even mean?
It means if the demand is there, they can charge you more.
Okay, so like when Ticketmaster is in charge of selling the first batch of tickets or when people are reselling them?
That's a good question. How does that work?
Because
I don't know.
As someone who's selling my ticket, I would like that.
Yeah.
If they were like, "Hey, your ticket can probably sell for 200." So you list it for 200, but suddenly some people are generating more traffic there and they automatically increase your ticket to 220 or something.
Yeah, right.
That would be cool.
I know they're getting like now questioned by the Justice Department or
because of Taylor Swift.
The whole Taylor Swift debacle, yeah.
So what happened?
Basically, the site crashed like hard a few times, and caused all kinds of issues with tickets, and some people who thought they got some didn't actually get them. Other people were luckier. And then some of the tickets just skyrocketed in price based on availability. And so people are upset, and people rightly have been upset at Ticketmaster for a while now, and nothing's really been done. They have successfully cornered the market in that space. There's Live Nation. Live Nation's owned by Ticketmaster.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of other Ticketmaster subsidiaries that operate under different brand names, but it's all just Ticketmaster. So they really have a corner.
Part of that?
I think StubHub is. Yeah, I think it's owned by Ticketmaster.
Because Ticketmaster and StubHub, to me, are the two most popular
look up who owns StubHub, because let's get that right. I don't want to accuse them.
I've never heard that.
At the same time, I know they work in tandem. I
think eBay actually owns them.
eBay does?
Or
no shit.
The owner of eBay.
That's awesome.
Via GoGo.
That makes so much sense. That's like.
Yeah. So it's
secondhand.
It's eBay via GoGo. I don't know which.
Yeah, owned by StubHub or Ticketmaster. But it's a classic example of a monopoly system that's formed, basically.
Yeah, but even so, for instance, okay, so Taylor Swift's agent or someone decides which company they're going to work with. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are a couple of them. You don't have to go to Ticketmaster.
Yeah, but you can
sell them yourself too.
Here's the thing: a lot of companies can't handle the volume and the demand of an artist like Taylor Swift that they bring to the table. Like, you need high-end security, high-end server volume in order to accommodate the demand, and the whole queuing system has to be super polished.
And Ticketmaster wasn't able to do that either.
Yeah, and also just generally, I think there's a lot of gatekeeping in that industry where, say Madison Square Garden was approached by Ticketmaster and was like, listen, we're going to sign a deal with you where you can only sell tickets to your events if it's through Ticketmaster. And now suddenly somebody like Taylor Swift or Harry Styles or Justin Bieber or whatever, Metallica, wants to play at Madison Square Garden. Suddenly now they have to use Ticketmaster.
You think that's a thing?
I 100% think that's a thing. So there's, and that's just one example of how that would work, right? There's ticket readers at the venues only work with Ticketmaster tickets, or there's this, so there's certain things and it's now just the most convenient option for big artists that, host 60,000-80,000 people per show. If you want to make the concert going experience the best, use Ticketmaster and all their vendors to facilitate the, crowd traffic, and maybe there's security that is tied into it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you didn't have Ticketmaster doing all that, would you still have those capabilities? Would you still have a company who can handle the demand, who has the better security on their system?
Yeah, it's so hard, I feel like, to break into that. If a company like Ticketmaster has such tight and deep relationships with record labels and
and you would think this would make it cheaper for the consumer, right? Because they aren't cutting out everything, and they're working with the labels and stuff.
I mean, geez, the fees alone on some of these things are just so crazy.
Yeah, they're not. It's not cheaper. Before you could, or if you work with, if you go to independent artist concerts who aren't that big, usually you can buy the ticket from the venue or whoever, $40, maybe pay $50 for the ticket.
Yep.
But when we bought the festival tickets, I think the ticket was $250, and the with fees it came out to almost $340 or something.
Yeah, it's close to that. Yeah, so there's $80 worth of fees basically per ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
For some software.
And it was shitty too. It wasn't even good.
Yeah, it was
and
bad.
What was weird is it was run by Live Nation, right? But they didn't even use Ticketmaster.
No, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't. They used
Front
Gate Tickets, which is probably somebody
one of
owned
theirs.
by Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, it may be a separate company, but it's all the same. It's all the same owners.
So they're just making the illusion that, oh yeah, it's not Ticketmaster selling you guys these tickets, so that people feel happier that it's some other company.
I remember when Live Nation was acquired by Ticketmaster. It was after Live Nation was like aggressive in grabbing and owning physical venues. Like they would go in and buy a venue. So it would be like a Live Nation venue. And then Ticketmaster was like, we got bags of money. Let's buy y'all. I think this is how it is. I may be butchering it, but this is how I think it was. And in doing so, they not only did they capture Live Nation's backbone of the business, which was selling tickets, but they also captured physical venues.
How do they also kind of legalize scalping? Right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
because I think scalping is like you buy a ticket and then you sell it for more.
Yeah.
Isn't that what scalping is?
Yeah, it's buying tickets with the intention to sell them at profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was harder to do. You pretty much had to go stand in front of a venue and hope that they didn't come over to you and beat you up or something, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was like back in the day. Yeah, back in the day.
Like you would always go to a sports game and there'd be guys out there trying to sell you tickets.
Yeah, they've at some venues they've outlawed that. So now,
I think it's actually outlawed.
It is. So now you have guys asking for tickets. That's how they get around. So there's still guys that stand out in front of the venue, but they'll be like, "Does anybody have any tickets? Extra tickets? Is anybody?" And so that's the thing. So when people come up, they'll actually try to sell you tickets.
Oh.
Yeah, because saying does anybody have any tickets isn't against the law.
Right.
It's like a loophole.
I would never buy tickets from those guys.
Yeah.
It's such a risk.
It usually pans out though. I feel like I'm being charitable in saying that.
Because of the couple times you've done it, it's worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird now. You can just. It's like a huge problem, I think, with concerts and whatnot, or events that people will buy the tickets up, and they actually try to implement things around that, like, oh, you have to put in your address, or you have to, your credit card can only buy one ticket, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot harder. Like you have to have a lot of credit card numbers or something.
You and I had a discussion a little while ago about blockchain technology, and a good implementation that we thought of was something that would replace Ticketmaster using crypto.
But we were too afraid that we would get sued.
Yeah, they were like, we own that.
Yeah,
we bought that patent yesterday.
Yeah, but
sorry.
I think you could probably develop it and then sell it to
Ticketmaster. Yeah, make a killing.
And then they're like, how do we actually make money off of this? Oh, you don't.
You don't. You just bought your competition. That's the cost of doing business for you, sir.
Yeah.
As a monopoly.
Then you make another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that's slightly different.
That's the thing with those companies. Like Twitter did that with Vine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it wasn't their competition.
It wasn't. It was like a new angle at a similar market.
So they just tried it and then realized it wasn't working out and shut it down.
I think it was starting to die out a little bit, and it just kind of faded. It was too expensive to manage.
Yeah.
And then they just cut their losses.
But that is a thing. I mean, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I know that's a thing for sure. Companies will buy other companies just to shut them down.
Yeah, they typically
take the talent.
Yeah, they'll take the talent. They'll take the captive audience and then they'll move them to their platform, basically.
Yeah, I was talking to this guy. I just came back from Spain, and he was at the airport. He used to work for my company. I was talking to him, and he was saying he's doing some contracting work with this company in Europe that's been buying a bunch of other companies because they can't hire people. They have really bad staffing issues, so they're buying the companies just for the people.
The employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right?
Also pretty smart,
Yeah.
It's pretty smart.
Sure, they can.
Yeah.
I mean, if the product somehow makes sense, they can kind of integrate it and then get the talent. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like a huge undertaking though, because anytime you merge even just two companies, it's like a big deal.
It's a big deal. Everything takes a while to work together.
Even down to the single employee level, like people hate changing culture.
Dude, it's so weird. It's so weird. And you have to like now one company is accountable to another company basically, and you have to like show them how you do things, and you know,
and
now
whose process do you take?
it's like a 2-year process too to like fully integrate into like a smooth running company between the two.
Yeah. And then the company that is the larger company who acquired, you know, when they merge, usually it's like one company really just acquired the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
And
because typically one brand has more equity than the other does.
Like, what was it? Sprint. Did that actually happen, or are they still Sprint?
No, Sprint's gone, man.
Who did they merge with? Was it T-Mobile?
T-Mobile, yeah.
Okay, yeah. When T-Mobile bought Sprint, it was like, obviously it's not going to be Sprint.
Yes.
Or T-Mobile Sprint. It's just going to be T-Mobile still.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes that happens. That was a perfect example of just buying consumers.
Yeah, they just bought the customers.
They bought their customers. They didn't buy. Maybe they bought some of their infrastructure too.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. But then the brand dissolved and it was gone. It wasn't like, no, we're keeping the Sprint brand alive because we think that's equitable. A different example would be like Spirit getting bought by JetBlue. I don't think JetBlue is like, Spirit's not going to be a brand anymore.
Yeah, it's still Spirit.
It will just be still Spirit, and now it's just two budget airlines. One's a little nicer than the other. Although I flew Spirit and they had Wi-Fi on their plane. I was really shocked.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, huh.
That's pretty crazy.
I'm like, maybe I'd rather fly Spirit than Frontier.
The plane was pretty nice too. I think it was the one we took to Vegas.
It was, yeah.
And the seat even felt like it had more room.
I was like, this ain't Spirit.
Oh shit! Spirit. This was a JetBlue flight. They just turned it yellow.
They wrapped it in a yellow film on the outside and was like, guys, this is Spirit now. We're cool and fun. All right, just like JetBlue is.
Yeah. You know who I feel like an industry that it's not usually like one company that takes over is the defense industry, the defense contractor. So like Northrop Grumman. So those were two companies, Northrop and Grumman, whatever they were called, and they merged. Harris Corporation merged with whoever, they called it L3.
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
I don't
know if that was one. I think actually it was. I think Lockheed Martin was two separate companies at some point.
It sounds like a law firm. It's usually just the partners' last names all combined.
So true.
Shuckman, Anderson, Barry.
Yeah, that's
Attorneys
weird.
at law.
All those companies probably started as, it was like the guy's name who started the company.
No, it's the paralegals or the lawyers underneath the principals going, you want to start our own law firm and take our clients? We're gonna call it just our last names put together.
Yeah, like Goldstein, Buckley, Seckerman, Rice, and Pertz.
Yeah, that's weird that you know that very offhand.
Dun, 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 dun,
It's those damn commercials. It's so fucking catchy. You know what's funny or interesting to me that I like had a moment of like pause and thought about was I got a recall notice in the mail for my Tesla.
Damn.
Yeah, you get those, right?
Yeah,
sometimes
Sonata,
Jeeps
Jeep,
and Sonatas, and I've gotten them before on my Jeep. Janie gets them a lot because her car is a little older. So like every 6 months or so, there's like a recall notice. And it's typically, it goes like this, right? It's like, hey, we're required by law to notify you that there's a safety recall. Here's what's wrong. Here's what we're going to do about it. And it's typically like, oh, it's a bolt on the steering column or a shaft in the in the suspension that makes it unsafe to drive, or the FAA, or not FAA, but the Transportation Authority.
My Sonata had one where it's like, if you hit the right turning signal, the left one might turn on.
It just might do that.
It's like, what?
So we will call you for an appointment or whatever. We'll set you, or you can call a dealership and set up an appointment, and you drop it off. They replace it for free. and then you'd be on your merry way. So I got one from Tesla, and it was like something with the window, because it's like a frameless door, so the glass just comes up like convertibles typically have, you know.
Okay.
It's common in a coupe where
Yeah,
when you
okay, I
open
know
the
what
door,
you
there's
mean.
no top frame to the window. It's just the top of the glass. Anyway,
That's right.
it was something with like the speed of it closing or whatever, and so they were like, yeah, we have to fix it, and we're going to, and they were like, so what you need to do, and it was like nothing. The software update will be coming, and I was like,
What?
huh, that's so weird. Like I'm so used to like having to bring it in. They replace the part and then it's over with. But now with these like new software driven like car companies, it's like, no, don't worry. It's a recall, yeah, and it's a safety thing, but we're gonna put it in the patch in the
Yeah.
next operating system upgrade. We're gonna fix the issue.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was weird. It was like the first time I'd ever seen something like that.
It's weird
in a
that they
safety
even give you a
recall
notice and not just update the car anyway.
I know. I think they're required by law though, because there's a governing agency of
So you know.
transportation safety requires them to notify the.
That's like so that's I mean, it's lucky that that issue is controlled by software. It really could have just been something mechanical in the door. Of
Yeah,
course,
that's true.
right? Like the car still has mechanical parts.
There still will be things that they need to physically replace.
Yeah. But for instance,
but yeah.
my Hyundai Sonata doesn't have an engine immobilizer in it, which is like when your key gets near the engine,
Yeah.
or the ignition, it tells it like, hey, this is the key, not
The
just
key.
like fitting into the key slot.
Yeah.
And then it won't let it start without it being the key, the right key.
Which is one of the reasons why it's they're so easy to steal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you would think that you could just patch that via software, right? Because the engine has to be somewhat controlled by the computer in the car.
Yeah, you would think
to some degree
that is a thing that the computer could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 2016, which is not that old.
No, it's not. It's like the year. Like I think everything after that is when like software became a big massive part of like the automotive industry.
Yeah, totally. When I was looking for, because I bought it as a new car when I bought it, so I bought it in 2016, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at cars, I was realizing how many of them did have a lot of computerized tech in them.
Yeah.
It was like some of them, I think it was the Honda Civic was one of the first cheaper cars that had the entire dash, instead of it being the dials that showed how fast you're going, it was all electronic, like the gas meter and all that kind of stuff. Now pretty much any luxury car has that.
Yeah.
There's no longer anything mechanical in there. It's all software.
Yeah.
I rented a BMW recently, one of their hybrid ones, and everything. It even had where I could see on the windshield my speed.
Yeah.
And the map of where I was supposed to be going.
It was like augmented projection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you guys can't patch this via software.
Yeah.
I have to go in and I have to pay them $700 to install it.
And even so, like it would still require you to drive it into the dealership, because they would have to plug it into your computer. Yeah, with like Tesla, it's like, yeah, we just do it anywhere.
Yeah, Hyundai could utilize that because they have BlueLink.
That's one of the. Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know if BlueLink is owned by Hyundai, but it's like a exclusive partner where all the cars have BlueLink. You can sign up for it. I think it's like $10 a month.
Yeah.
When my car was stolen, if I had BlueLink, they could see where the car is. Like I could have been like, "Hey, police, go get my car, please."
Right.
Or just gone after it myself and taken it.
I think that's like a separate thing though, right? Like it doesn't actually touch the car's computer or anything like that.
No, probably.
Yeah.
But they could utilize it for vehicles now. Like that infrastructure exists, the technology to the car, transmitting data to the car exists. So they could now use that to transmit updates.
Well, I know it's a safety thing, right, too, because of security concerns. Like if somebody hacked into BlueLink, then now suddenly if BlueLink was truly integrated to talk to the car's computer, they could do some really squirrely things. I think that's one of the
Totally.
main reasons why they've avoided doing that.
Because they don't want to deal with the
repercussions.
security.
Yeah, like I know for a while, I don't know if it's still the case, but Tesla was the only car company that could do software updates over air, and that was one of the things that made them so versatile, because they could push. Normally you'd have to drive every single car into a dealership, basically, if you wanted to upgrade their software. But
Yeah.
Tesla, they could just hit a button and basically it gets sent out to every car.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely, especially for a car. I mean, Hyundai is a cheap brand, like Kia is a cheap brand, and they have some, like, their cars are good, they're reliable, but they're very basic in that they can be easily stolen because they're basic and they don't have the latest tech in them, where you would find, like, I can't rent heat warmers in my car, but a BMW you can, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. Another new update in the pay-to-play world of automotive industry is Mercedes.
I saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought,
Mercedes has, in Mercedes, they've basically governed the motors to where you can now pay a price to unlock it. I think it's an annual subscription.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-time fee, so you have to pay it annually.
Right. But Tesla did this first.
Tesla was doing this before them, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where,
but
it's not a subscription, you just pay a fee.
You just pay a fee, but you can for their self-driving full, like, quote unquote full self-driving, you can pay an annual subscription for
instead
that,
of
or you can pay the total price. Yeah. And that was the thing. I think Mercedes' approach to it is different. I think because Tesla, the way they were doing it was, when you go to buy the car, they had options like trims, like different trims, where it was like long range performance, or, and you could choose which model or trim you wanted.
Right.
And then if you got the non-performance and you wanted it, you could unlock it in your car.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they're selling you the car and then they're like, hey, also, like, you could pay to, like, make it faster.
So the cars are just made the same exact way. It's just the software that decides what features you have.
Yeah, it's almost like you get the same car as everybody else does, but the different trim, quote unquote trim model. I think it's like a legacy term at this point, but the trim model could be basically changed on the fly at any moment.
And but that is what,
besides
Mercedes
the dual
is doing,
motor,
right?
There's a difference between that. You can get a single motor and a dual motor.
Yeah, and would that be the same as the all-wheel?
Yeah, it's like front wheel versus a rear wheel drive versus all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I've seen some of these electric cars that have front wheel drive.
Yeah,
I'm like, why
front wheel?
Who wants that
over rear wheel?
Yeah,
it's better because it's like,
I thought rear was better.
No,
front is better.
Well, I think it's the application that you're wanting to use it for. Like, for instance, in snow, front wheel is better. Think about it's like basically the back wheels on it's like a reverse snowmobile almost, where the traction and a lot of the power is coming from the front end of it. And then your back tires are along for the ride.
Yeah, but isn't that what you want? I mean, that's what you have in a snowmobile.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't you want that the same thing? Rear
I don't think it works the same. I think rear wheel is really bad for control in snowy and icy conditions.
So maybe it makes sense then.
Yeah.
Although I think if you lived in snowy conditions, you would just want an all-wheel drive car.
Yeah, you'd probably want that.
So,
or a four-wheel drive. Apparently, there's a difference.
There is, yeah. All I think is where it can just initiate it or not or whatever.
Yeah, it all moves the same drivetrain, I think, and then there's like a differentiator in the four-wheel drive. We're talking truck stuff.
Well, I know with all-wheel drive cars, you don't have to be an all-wheel drive
No.
It's like when the car is slipping or something on one wheel, then it can adjust how the others are turning.
Yeah.
Right. With four-wheel drive, I think it's like they're all moving at the same time with the same speed, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't with four-wheel drive, you can't drive above a certain speed. You have to also be careful when you shouldn't really use it much on roads and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's more meant for like off-roading where you need the power to push your car.
Yeah, you need to.
That's why a lot of trucks, Jeeps, and stuff have it versus the all-wheel drive, which any car can have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a requirement when you live in snowy places, I think.
Yeah, I actually was looking at going to Quebec City area in January, which is probably one of their coldest, maybe one of their snowiest months too. And I know that's one of the places that actually requires that you have snow tires, actually, not just carrying chains, whatever. Like here, if you go on certain roads, you have to carry chains. I think
if you're not a four-wheel drive.
Yeah, if you're not four-wheel drive or all-wheel. And then there's other things. I think it's like they'll put on alerts where it's like you can't drive on some like any road that they say you can't drive on unless you have that stuff too.
Makes sense.
They'll put on alerts for it. But anyway, in Quebec, you need the snow tires or whatever. So when I was looking for cars, I was like, oh, I need to find a car that has like all-wheel drive, that has, whatever. And with rental cars, that's usually hard to do. Like there's usually not a section, you can't filter by cars with all-wheel drive or anything like that. You have to just hope that you rented an SUV, and a lot of SUVs have it or whatever. Or higher end cars a lot of times have all-wheel drive in all their cars.
Right, yeah.
And so when I was Googling around, people from Quebec were saying that they actually, it doesn't really matter that much, and that snow tires are significantly better than anything else in a car.
Yeah, I remember going to a couple dealerships and then telling me that it wasn't really that big of a deal if you got a front-wheel drive. They're like, maybe on the acceleration, in a straightaway, you would perform better with an all-wheel drive.
So but like they said spinning, right?
Yeah, but they said ultimately like turning and things like that. It's very, very similar. I mean, maybe the difference between the two isn't enough to make it a big deal.
Yeah. I know when I take my Sonata and the roads are icy and snowy before they've plowed anything, it's much harder. It's actually much harder to drive than my Jeep.
Yeah.
But my Jeep still slides.
Our friend Joe has snow tires on his Subaru SRT or STZ, whatever the fuck it's called. STI? I think it's STI.
Yeah, STI.
And those things grip.
Yeah.
Those things grip. Like we were driving back from Keystone last weekend through Loveland Pass, and it was like snowy roads, typical like conditions up there for wintertime. And he was taking turns real lot faster than I would have. And it was gripping the road real nice.
Yeah, maybe.
Real
maybe.
Nice.
Or you're just getting lucky.
They were gripping it real nice.
Or he just didn't hit the right patch of ice yet.
No, dude. It was good.
Yeah, maybe.
It was good. Yeah. And
I know
we got there in one piece, and at any point I don't remember any slippage or, you know.
I know when I was looking, I just went to the tire place because I had a bolt in my tire, so I had to take it there. And there was a sign there showing the difference in distance with stopping, because that's one of the big things too with snow tires, is stopping between snow tire, all-terrain tire, and all-season tire. And all-season tire was the worst. Well, I guess like whatever they would have in Florida would be the worst, but all season was like 135 feet, I think it is, for you to stop from whatever speed this was, maybe 60 miles per hour or something. Okay. And then I want to say that all terrain was like 85, and then snow tires was like 65.
Yeah.
But like that's the difference between all season and snow.
Yeah.
I mean, between snow and all terrain, there's 20 feet's still pretty long.
It's a good amount.
You know, it's like between hitting a car and
from
not.
Snow to all season, that's like twice as better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
So I probably wouldn't get snow tires like on my Jeep, but if I was driving my Sonata around a lot, I'd probably consider putting snow tires on it.
Yeah, it's probably a good move. It's I don't know. I noticed the difference, and I was in the passenger seat, and
this is the reason people do it.
It's just then you got to put them on though.
Yeah, you got to have somewhere to store them.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If you live in an apartment, like where the hell are you storing an extra set of? Is it? Do they just take the tires off, replace the tires on the wheels, or is it an actual whole set of wheels too?
No, just the tires. Yeah, they have a thing that does it pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they fill it up, and you're on your way.
Yeah, I took so I had the bolt in my tire in my Jeep. Yeah. I swapped it with the spare, which on a Wrangler, if you have the spare is not like a normal spare that you would have in a car. It's an actual normal one.
It's like a replica of whatever you have already.
So whenever you get your tires rotated, they should rotate that one too. So you never, you don't actually have a spare that's never used. They're all being used, and so I brought it there, and I wanted them to patch it, which they couldn't end up doing because the hole was a little bit too big. The size of the bolt was kind of like a fat bolt.
Yeah, it's a fatty.
Yeah, fatty. And so the guy came back in. He's like, "Oh yeah, we can't patch it. The patching thing, it goes straight through it, and it's just like."
You should have been like, "Well, the guy I took it to the other place said he could do it."
Yeah.
So I think you're lying to me. No.
So yeah, I mean, it could be lying. I have no idea, but yeah, So then I said, okay, I'll figure out what to do. I don't want to decide right now. I might get new tires. Just get that new tire. I don't know. And so he's like, oh, okay, do you want us to just give you the tire back? Yeah. So I wanted to put it back in the Jeep. So, cause I had taken the wheel with the tire on it and put it in the back of my car instead of putting it back onto the rack because of what I was afraid of is I don't know how tires work. If it got flat enough, it could somehow fall off of the wheel and be a road hazard.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not taking any chance of murdering someone. So I just put it in the back of the car. So I was expecting them to just put it back in the car. No, they kept it. It's still separated off the wheel.
Oh, really?
So now I have like a wheel in my car and then the tire in the back.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, they didn't put it back on.
Why didn't they do that?
I don't know. Because they're probably like, well, he's not gonna. Why would he put it back on the wheel?
Oh, true. Right? Yeah,
he's not gonna use it.
Well, you should have.
But what they don't know is I have a lot of duct tape,
bro. They should at least taken it off your hands and recycled it.
They probably would have. Probably would have.
But that's okay because when you go to buy another spare or quote unquote extra tire, then you have them probably take that away from you.
Yeah, the thing is, it seems like such a waste too because you could probably at least get another full year out of that tire normally if it didn't have the hole in it.
Yeah.
And those tires, they have Kevlar in them. Like they're very strong, and it seems like such a waste now that tire just can't be used.
I know.
What do they even do with it? Do they melt it somehow?
No, I think there's a few things they can do. A lot of it ends up in a landfill, unfortunately. Yeah.
That sucks.
It's like massive piles of tires. I've seen like pictures of it, but some of it gets used in like playground mulch.
Oh yeah, true. They cut that out.
Yeah. But I don't think enough playgrounds are being built to.
Yeah. I think I remember when we were younger, we had that at our house, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was kind of like the mulch around around something, the bushes.
Yeah. It's a good spongy material for a playground.
Yeah.
Instead of like mulch.
Until you eat it.
Yeah, it's also more sustainable, I think. Because you are using a recycled material. It heats up pretty good though.
Does it?
Heats up pretty good.
Yeah.
Compared to like a wood chip, because wood mulch is not a good conductor.
Yeah.
Wood in general. So there's a heat, and it's all black too, typically.
Yeah.
Which black will absorb more UV, heat up a lot quicker.
Right.
But it is spongier. Like it is good to have if like
you fall on
you got little ones. Yeah, you fall off, and I'd rather hit a a ground made of that stuff than like mulch.
Cement.
Even though it's like, or yeah, cement. Yeah, definitely. Most other things than cement. And needles.
Oh, they don't build parks on the cement.
Like needles. You ever
Needles?
the Saw 2? You ever seen Saw 2?
Probably.
Where they there's like a pit of used needles.
Yeah.
That they have to like
the key out of
there's
something?
a key in there. It's like digging a key out of a needle haystack. Yeah,
It's like
they did like
horror
I watched it behind the scenes footage of like how they did that, and they said that like they started out with like I don't know 100,000 needles or something like that, and they realized it wasn't enough. They had like fill up the bottom with like other stuff, and not just needles.
There's real needles
to make it feel. No, they took the needles out. They said that was like the hardest part was de-needling everything, because I guess it's a process. So they had like all hands on deck, just de-needling and tossing into.
So then how do they put the needles back in the movie?
I think they took some camera shots of it with some that have needles, and then I think it is a process.
Wow,
yeah. Watch it on YouTube. You'll find out.
Yeah, that's our other sponsor.
Yeah, Saw 2 in theaters only in IMAX.
I saw they're making another one, right?
Well, they made one with like Chris Rock, and it was garbage.
But I think they're making another one with
God,
with the one dude.
I mean, stop. Just pick another horror franchise to bleed out.
Yeah, they still make money, so why not?
Yeah, they do.
From their perspective, I guess.
Well, we should probably wrap up because the game's about to start.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, go Knowles. Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back, of course, every 2 weeks. We're hanging out here. We're drinking cocktails. We're having good discussions. Shoot us a text, email, luckybroadcasting.com. If you want to engage with us on social media, show us how you made this week's drink. It's delicious. We post the recipe and a photo of the cocktail every 2 weeks on our Instagram. So if you want to drink along with us, follow us there for updates and new recipes bi-weekly. Is it bi-weekly? Every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bi-monthly.
Of course, if you want to keep up with Miles and Sarah, they're Adventuring Eyes on Instagram, adventuringeyes.com. Catch the scripted drama from Lucky Broadcasting original series, Original Kin. Now streaming on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we'll be back in 2 weeks. But until then, adios. Goodbye.
Amigos.